Nothing like sawing down saplings on a crisp winter morning. You guys will eventually make me some nice arrows.
Goddamn freezing.
Oh, come on, Will. We're at full health. God, it's like you've never been trapped in a post-apocalyptic hellscape before. Welcome, everyone, to the Long Dark Fresh Start Challenge. What does fresh start mean? Well, let me put it this way. That is the first ptarmigan I have ever killed while playing this game. You see, I stopped playing a couple years ago, and I've come back, out of practice, to play the Tales from the Far Territory expansion and the new Misery difficulty for the first time. The goal is to survive for 60 days. So far I'm on day 7, so halfway there. I'm walking in the sunrise, bringing scrap metal back to my main base in the camp office. We'll stop in this clearing because, well, I'm hungry. And the deer carcass and rabbits here will provide us with some breakfast. I start a fire and need to add 2 coal because it's negative 43 degrees outside. One of the perks of playing in Misery. I know there's some way to use this ptarmigan meat to make broth, which I guess makes stews later on, but I need calories right now. Plus I'm kind of worried that carrying fresh meat will attract wolves. So, nom 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 nom. I'm warmed up with a full belly and ready to move on when I get hit with rheumatic joints. This is permanent affliction number 2, which you'll always get on day 7 of Misery. My running speed is now reduced by half, plus sprains are more likely and I'll take damage when they happen. This is one of 4 afflictions that show up in a randomized order during the mid-game. On day 47, a final affliction will prevent us from ever healing again. These rheumatic joints are a grim reminder that we have got to get to high-tier gear before that happens. Time is not on my side, and I'll have to use what time I have wisely. The rest of the trip back to the camp office is pretty uneventful. I'm planning on leaving for the forge tomorrow, but I'll need to feed myself until then. Fortunately, that breakfast cookout just got me to level 2 cooking, and I have a bunch of flour and cooking oil, so it's time to make some pancakes. These pancakes and some rabbits I catch outside should be enough to last until I get to the forge. I spend the rest of the day preparing for my journey tomorrow. Leaving enough behind is just as important as remembering what to take. Weight management is critical, especially in Misery when your carry weight is reduced. After eating my fill, I put the rest in the refrigerator, by which I mean the snow outside. Uh-oh. That little cinematic means that somewhere a cougar has appeared in Mystery Lake. I don't know where. I hope I don't find out anytime soon. The cougar is a new addition to the game and I have no idea how to deal with it. For now, I'm ready to sleep. I've got a big journey ahead of me the next day. To turn this scrap metal into tools, I'll need a forge, and my plan is to use the one in Forlorn Muskeg. But that is a very long journey, and there are no warm shelters almost the entire way until we reach a transition cave here. So how can I get to the forge without having to constantly stop and build fires, using up precious coal and time along the way? I've got a plan. It's to use the insulated flask I found in Trapper's cabin. I've never used one of these before, but it seems like it can hold a lot of hot tea, which I can hopefully keep on drinking to keep my warmth up and maintain my warming up bonus. You might notice that when I chain torches, I always use the lowest condition torch from my inventory. I do this for 2 reasons. First, it gets the torches out of my backpack faster, reducing my carry weight more quickly. Second, any torches I have left over after a journey will be pretty high quality, allowing me to build up a collection of torches close to 50% condition. The first leg of our journey is pretty straightforward, literally. We're just following the train tracks until we hit the tunnel to Forlorn Muskeg. And here it is. So far so good. We're still at full health, and the tea has been keeping me warm. Besides the cold, the main thing I'm worried about now is my food supply. I've brought a few things with me, but I'm going to be relying on the fact that Forlorn Muskeg has a whole bunch of cattails. After all, it's basically one big swamp. Eventually I do start freezing, but I'm approaching a train wreck where I can safely build a fire, so I figure one fire along the way won't hurt me too much. There's also some nice items in here, like a flare, more coal, and some books. Tea and canned food can be warmed up just by placing it next to a fire, which means you don't need to use up a cooking slot. Hence the tradition of the long dark tea circle, where you circle your teas around the fire just to keep them all warm, because why not? I've made the decision not to use any coal on this fire, which means it's not hot enough to warm me up. Instead, I'll just use the hot teas for warmth. I take some more damage this way, but health is a resource too in this game. If I take less damage in a day than I can heal by sleeping that night, I've effectively wasted that resource. With my teas heated up, I fill my thermos and head out again, this time leaving the train tracks and heading across the swamp towards the warm cave. Now, do you see our friend over there? Look closely. Hello, Mr. Bear. It's coming towards us, but slowly enough that it shouldn't be an issue. We're getting close to the point in the game where we will be actively seeking out bears to hunt them for their hides. But until we have our bow and arrows, we're happy to just skirt by this one. The rest of the journey is actually pretty uneventful, though as night falls it gets so cold I stop bothering drinking teas. My cold meter is just emptying too quickly to make it worth it, but I've still got about 2/3 of my health left when I finally arrive at the warm cave. I'll get these mushrooms and rose hips later. I'm freezing my butt off out here. Once inside, I make a fire, then drop almost all my coal and sticks so I won't be weighed down while I look around. I won't go out the other side of this cave. I'm just here for two things. First, coal, and second, more coal. By the time I get back to the cave entrance, it's pretty late at night and I'm pretty tired, so I decide to spend the night here. I kill some time preparing more tea, boiling water, and cooking acorns. Before I sleep, I want to get tired enough to restore as much health as possible. Filling my hunger meter with cattail stalks reminds me of eating seaweed for some reason. Yummy, yummy cattail salad. There is actually a bed I could use deeper in the cave, but I decide to use my bedroll and sleep by the entrance. That way I can leave immediately when I wake up the next morning. The morning weather may look pretty, but it is 42 degrees below zero, so I am quickly freezing, but that's okay, I don't have that far to go. Soon ruined cabins come into view, and our destination lies just beyond them. The forge is inside the only building that's not completely destroyed, the Spence family homestead. Wait, is something floating above that tree stump? Keeping an eye out for these little details will often pay off. In this case, I find a hacksaw.
Thank goodness.
The fact that it was floating was probably a glitch, but hey, I'll take it. And at last, inside we reach the forge. Let's get this thing lit. Man, I have a lot of sticks to throw on. This is where being so stingy with coal and fuel is finally paying off. And hey, look at that! After 8 days of exploring the cold, I finally found a jacket. Wait, didn't there used to be a safe hidden back here? I guess something has changed. Once the forge is hot enough for smithing, I spend 3 hours crafting an improvised knife. In addition to harvesting carcasses more quickly, this knife is a critical step on the long dark tech tree and will allow me to craft a bow and arrows. Now arrowheads only take an hour to forge, which means I can boil a liter of water each time. Arrowheads are reusable, but sometimes they get lost, so I want to make sure I have enough to last me the rest of this run. I spend most of the night forging arrowheads and an improvised hatchet, which can be used for fighting off wolves, chopping logs, and other useful functions. I guess a hatchet isn't strictly necessary, but it's so handy there's a reason it's the long dark icon. My improvised hatchet doesn't look as nice as that one, but it's still what I click on every time I play. I spend my nights in a bed just above the forge, keeping the fire going all night so I don't freeze, and so I don't have to start it fresh the next day. My biggest concern here is still food, but there are a few deer corpses around I can harvest, plus I brought a bunch of acorns, which I can smash into flour with my hammer and use to make acorn bannock. Bread. I made bread out of acorns. By the end of the second day, I've got a nice stash of 16 arrowheads. That should be enough, right? Well, maybe I'll craft one more pair. Alright, we're all done with the forge and I head out the next day. Whoa! Good thing I lit a torch before leaving. Kinda cool that this is the same fire I lit 2 days ago. I explore the nearby prepper cache, but don't find much of anything. You might be wondering, why didn't I just sleep in here instead of needing to keep the fire going all night? Well, would you believe I forgot it was here? Yeah, I haven't played in a while. Oh well, I saved a couple of my matches, of which I have a zillion, but whatever. The clearer weather today gives us a nice view of the muskeg. You can see how confusing it is to navigate the maze of islands in poor visibility, never knowing when the thin ice will break under your feet. Ow! Also, how treacherous it is to walk sideways on a cliff while overloaded with rheumatic joints. Oh well, who needs to use 2 wrists anyway? It's very cold and windy outside by the time I reach the cave, but inside I can warm up building a fire without needing to use coal. As I set some food and water cooking, the wind outside starts sounding worse. It almost sounds like...
Cold is making my head feel thick.
Well, at least we got to the cave before the blizzard hit, but there is no way I am trying to navigate Forlorn Muskeg in that weather. I spend hours in the cave, repairing my clothing, brewing teas, gathering sticks, but this blizzard just keeps going. I realize I'll have to let my fire go out and spend the night here. I boil a bit more water, harvest a few more torches into sticks, and go out one last time to curse the weather before I sleep. Whoa, wait, not only is the blizzard over, it's not even windy. My fatigue meter is only about half full, but my low food supply doesn't give me the luxury of wasting another day if I don't have to. So I load up my thermos, grab a torch, and go. And you know what? This is still the same flame that I brought into the forge with me. Pretty cool how it seems to be lasting this whole... Never mind. The weather on Misery shifts pretty quickly. The clouds clear up as I travel, revealing a pretty sunset through the trees, but it's still very windy and very cold. I'm carrying a flare just in case I need to scare off wolves in this wind. I'm heading uphill towards the eastern radio tower. As I remember, the area by the tower should have rabbits, a deer corpse, sometimes live deer, heck, maybe there'll even be ptarmigans. It should be a good place to stop and warm up. Aw, that was my last wrist. Now I won't even be able to throw a rock without bandaging it, but I'll check to make sure there are rabbits before I do that. But when I find a rabbit, it's already been ravaged by a wolf. What the heck, there didn't used to be wolves up here. Another wolf barks at me from the opposite direction. Ooh boy, flares are pretty rare on this difficulty, but it's time to use one. With 2 sprained wrists, I can't even aim rocks to scare these wolves, but I can still throw the flare itself. Too short to scare it. At least I didn't throw it too far. If it went over the wolf's head, I wouldn't have anything to keep it from mauling me. This area was supposed to be a calm place to recover. Oh, looks like there were also ptarmigans up here. Emphasis on the were. Ooh, a deer carcass. Thank goodness, I can finally get some more calories. But it's out in the open and it's too windy to build a fire next to it. Okay, new plan. I'll build my fire over here where it's sheltered, and once I'm warmed up, I'll rush over and harvest the meat. I hope you like popsicles, because the deer and I are both turning into one. I'm freezing again, but I've got some food. Let's head back to the fire and warm up. Wait, why does that fire look like it's dying? Oh, it's almost out. Feed it, feed it, feed it, feed it. I should have paid more attention to the timing there, but we're okay. This difficulty really just never lets you relax. There's so much you have to keep track of in order to keep going. Just look at all these afflictions. The venison is cooked, but it's still too windy for a torch. So I head out with no fire, overburdened and tired, and with no warm shelters left on the way home. There's a shortcut down from the cliff face to the right of the radio tower, but this is like skiing a black diamond without skis. It is steep. When going down a steep slope, you can reduce your chance of sprains by crouching. It's funny how this game seems to give you the nicest views when you're in the biggest hurry and too worried about dying to really enjoy them. Farewell, Forlorn Muskeg. As I round a tree at the bottom of the cliff, I spy another wolf. This is my last flare, and there's a lot more potential wolves along the way, so maybe I can juke this guy. I'm not carrying anything with a scent that will attract the wolf, so I can do silly hide-and-seek games like approaching behind this tree and it won't see me. I'm already slowed down because I'm exhausted and carrying so much, so sneaking here is painfully slow. But hey, I'll take it over getting eaten. I only need to sneak while I'm in line of sight, so I can stand up once the wolf is behind the rock. I can hug the right wall from here on out and I'll be safe. I mean, relatively safe. It's so cold and my health is already low, so I have to drink hot tea after hot tea after hot tea until my thermos is empty, and I still have a ways to go. I finally get to the tunnel that takes me from Forlorn Muskeg back to Mystery Lake, but I'm terrified of running into another wolf at this point. These are the moments when the long dark turns into a horror game. Every shape you see in the distance, you wonder, is that a wolf or a rock? You've got to appreciate any game that can make you this tense when you don't actually see danger. After what seems like an eternity of walking, I make it back to the camp office, just barely alive. One night of sleep is not enough to heal all that damage, so I try not to do anything dangerous the next day. The food supply is still a problem, but I have some canned peaches and some flour, so I try making some peach pie. Oh, high sugar content gives me a headache, just like in real life. I do take one short hike outside, up this hill. At the top is a location called Lake Overlook, and there's a warm cave. In addition to some firewood, I find a magnifying lens. A mag lens can be used on a sunny day to start a fire without a match or fire striker. As the only renewable source of fire, it's absolutely crucial if you want to do a very long run and survive for hundreds of days. For a 60-day run like this, it's a nice perk. I grab another ptarmigan and bring it down to the office to make some broth. Once I get some more animal meat, I can make stew out of this, which I think is more efficient. It's not until evening that I realize the huge mistake I made. Peach pies restore your fatigue meter. That's great if you're trying to climb a rope or something, but I just wanted to sleep a whole lot to recover health. Thanks to this self-inflicted insomnia, I can only sleep about 4 hours the first night. It'll be a while before my condition is fully recovered. Regardless, my saplings are cured the next day, and I craft a bow. Crafting can take a long time in this game. Unlike others of the genre where you can craft instantly or in a few seconds, it takes over 6 in-game hours to craft my bow and another few hours to craft 3 arrows. So it's almost sunset when I'm done, but at last I'm ready to go on my first hunt. And not a moment too soon. I'm down to my last few cattails and boxes of stale crackers. Alright, there's 2 deer at the rabbit clearing. It has been a while. I don't even remember how close I can get before they start running. About that close, apparently. Scaring a deer by getting too close isn't that big of a deal. They just run a little ways and then come back. What I'm worried about is sending a deer running from a wound if I don't get a clean kill. In that case, it could run halfway across the region before bleeding out and dying. And it can be really hard to chase and track them. So the goal here is to drop it in one shot. That's pretty likely if I hit it in the head or neck. If I hit it in the leg or flank, though, I'm in for a long chase. This time I stay crouched, letting the deer come to me. I'll need to stand up to shoot my bow, but the deer will take a moment to react to me, during which time I should get one good shot. I'm trying to remember how to aim this bow from 2 years ago. Here goes nothing. Aim low, aim low, aim low, aim low. Haha, still got it. Ooh, looks like that other deer has attracted the attention of a wolf. Well, one for you, one for me, I guess. I managed to get the fire warm enough using only 1 coal and some wood. I need to preserve what little coal I have left for as long as I can. Time for a harvesting party, and this one's a dinner party. I am not letting any of this meat go to waste. Oh hey, that other deer's still alive. I could try to hunt that one too, but I don't want to risk it running off with one of my arrows. However, a little later, I hear a faint wolf bark. And a few seconds after that, the wind is picking up, but not enough to blow out a torch. This is worth investigating. Sure enough, there's the wolf with its fresh kill. Wolves are picky. If you scare them away from a carcass, they'll never come back for it. That means I'm free to finish harvesting my deer first, then come for this one. I don't know how intentional this is, but I love the look of a campfire from a distance. It's the way it stands out, a beacon of warmth in this cold, unforgiving world. The wolves are afraid to approach my fire, but that doesn't keep them from hanging around, begging for scraps. Yeah, sorry, Bandit. That mournful howl isn't nearly as touching when I know how happy you'd be to eat me. It's well past midnight when I'm done harvesting. I gather up all the meat, hide, guts, and fat I've acquired and start to head home. But actually, as long as I'm here, I might as well grab these rabbits, right? Sometimes it's a good idea to be greedy. You've got to jump on your opportunities when you can. That plop plop plopping sound was me quickly dropping my meat and guts using the number 3 key. It's intended as a shortcut to drop decoys to distract predators, but it can be useful for other situations, like when you're cooking or you want to lose a bunch of weight to go hunt rabbits. And that's 1 and 2. This is a lot to carry, which means I'll be going slow. And of course the smell of all this has attracted Bandit again, who's following me home. But it's not far, and I've got my torch.
Die if I don't warm up soon.
This is really slow. You know, when you're thinking about survival games and you say the word resources, you tend to think of things you can pick up and hold, things like food, tools, and crafting materials. But what we've seen time and again in this run is that the most important resources in this game are less tangible. Resources like daylight, health, good weather, time, and your own will to continue. These are all things that you can't just collect and hoard. You have to make use of them as they become available. And that's the beauty of it. No amount of preparation will keep you from getting hit by a surprise blizzard. You could always be unlucky enough to have an animal come after you in that blizzard. You're never perfectly safe, and that's what makes the game unique and fun. It's been careful use of these intangible resources that has allowed me to get this far. I'll still need some wolf and bear hides for top-tier clothing, but one thing's for sure, I'm not going to be hungry again for a long time. Pushing every resource to the limit to end up with a backpack full of meat, well, that's what it is to play The Long Dark. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you back next time.